Chainlink just teamed up with Swift to revolutionize bank payments. So why is XRP still 10 times bigger? Well, I fell down a crypto rabbit hole to find out, and what I discovered completely flipped how I see both projects. Alright, let me set the stage. Yesterday, Swift, yes, that is the global bank messaging giant, dropped a bit of a bombshell. They're adding a blockchain-based shared ledger to finally enable 24/7 international payments. Now, they've got 30 plus big banks on board and Consensus building the prototype. Now, this is pretty huge news, right? Well, Chainlink certainly thought so. Now, the Chainlink team practically high-fived themselves on X, saying that this proves blockchains and Oracle's networks have real-world value in upgrading finance. And as a Chainlink holder, I'm over here thinking, this is it. This is Link's moment. But then I hit pause because despite this massive Swift partnership and even Chainlink's plans to share revenue with Link holders, XRP's market cap is still over 10 times larger than Chainlink's. So you might be thinking, how on earth is XRP, the token often called a banker's coin, still so far ahead? Am I missing something? I mean, XRP is the fourth biggest cryptocurrency, around $173 billion of market cap, while Chainlink is back in 12th spot with about a $14.6 billion market cap. So for Link to catch up to XRP's value, it would have to jump over 1,000% from here. So what gives? Well, I needed some answers, not just for my own portfolio's sake. Yes, I do hold both XRP and Chainlink, but because this felt like a mystery kind of begging to be solved, and you know that I can't resist a good old mystery. So I dove in. Scrolling through crypto forums, news sites, Twitter threads at 2 a.m, please don't ask how much sleep I lost, what I found was actually a heated debate between some pretty heavy hitters, including a former Ripple director, and their insights completely kind of changed my perspective on these two coins. By the end of this story, you're probably going to see why comparing XRP and Chainlink is like comparing apples to oranges, and why that's actually great news for those of us actually bullish on both of them. Plus, stick with me here because I also stumbled onto a new project called Unity Nodes that has people buzzing, especially in my Discord. It's kind of like crypto meets telecoms adventures, and that kind of ties into this whole narrative of unique use cases. Oh, and here's a quick heads up as well. We do have a free educational Discord server. The link is in the description. It is where we chat about all of this stuff. So if you are obsessed with crypto news and debates as much as I am, then please join us down there, right? It's a chill community to learn and, of course, swap ideas. There's no drama. It's just the good old conversations. All right, let's get back to the story then, because buckle up. Because this journey starts with a bold question on X and ends with me rethinking my entire approach to XRP and Chainlink. So, the catalyst for this whole deep dive was indeed a tweet, the kind that makes you stop scrolling. Now, former CoinRoots chairman Dave Wissenberger, basically challenged the crypto universe, asking, why is XRP's market cap more than 10 times Chainlink's? Now, he was scratching his head just like I was, thinking, about it. Chainlink, just flexed a massive partnership with Swift, the Swift, used by thousands of banks. And Chainlink plans to share fee revenue with Link token holders, right, and stakers. So by all accounts, those are some pretty serious fundamentals that could drive value, right? Well, Dave's point was this: shouldn't Link be valued higher, or at least catch up to XRP, given all of this progress? You see, when I saw his question, I'll be honest, I kind of nodded in agreement. As someone who's kind of grabbed some Link, back in 2022 and 2020, because of its tech and its partnerships, I too wondered, what the market cap was actually seeping on, right? Meanwhile, of course, XRP, which I also hold, seemed to be kind of coasting pretty largely on future potential and, devoted community, right? So was the market irrational, or was I missing a key piece to this puzzle? Enter Matt Hamilton, former director of Ripple developer relations at Ripple, right? So basically, he's an XRP insider. Now, Matt jumps in to reply, and his take completely reframed the issue here. Right? Now, he basically said comparing XRP to Chainlink misses the point. Why? Because the very nature of these tokens is different. Right? Now, according to him, XRP is the native asset of the XRP Ledger, a full-blown blockchain network. It's the fuel and the vehicle of its own ecosystem. Now, in contrast, Chainlink is not a blockchain platform in the same way. It is a decentralized oracle network, and the Link token's role, while very important, is more limited in scope. Now, in Matt's view, comparing these market caps directly is apples to oranges because XRP and Link are used in fundamentally different ways. And that hit me like a splash of cold water, I realized, right? That I'd been thinking about it as if two crypto projects were just duking it out. But Matt was saying, hold on, XRP is a currency in its own ecosystem, whereas Link is a utility token for a service. Now, it's almost like comparing a national currency to, let's say, loyalty points of a tech platform. It's no wonder that XRP's valuation is higher. It's valuing an entire network's currency, not just a service tool. And to drive the point home, one XRP supporter even chimed in with a nice, neat analogy. He said Chainlink is kind of like LinkedIn. It's a platform that provides a service, while XRP is more like the currency with its own operating system. In other words, Link's value is tied to the usage of Chainlink's network, like LinkedIn's value to its users is, well, advertisers, right? Whereas XRP's value is tied to being money within its self-contained blockchain economy. Right? Now, that analogy is kind of pretty perfect, isn't it? Right? But it kind of gave me a kind of clearer picture, right? Because XRP aims to be a digital cash for banks and beyond. And Link is basically a facilitator, the middleware that helps different systems talk to each other. Now, of course, Dave Wesenberger wasn't entirely satisfied with that answer, right? And honestly, I kind of appreciate it to a point. Like, you don't just take, an argument at face value in crypto, right? You do, of course, have to question it. Now, Dave did fire back, saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, by the way, okay, but even LinkedIn, the platform, generates profits and rewards for its shareholders. Chainlink, while not a traditional company, has set up a way to share revenues with token holders. So Link holders do get, to partake in the network's success. Meanwhile, XRP's value comes from its utility and scarcity. That's kind of built into a tiny burn of XRP for each transaction, and its main advantage is being cheap and so fast to use. But if XRP's price goes too high, doesn't that cheap usability get, compromised? Now, this was a pretty solid counterpoint, I guess. Dave essentially argued that Chainlink's token now has a clear value capture mechanism, like staking rewards, fee sharing, whereas XRP's value is more speculative, tied to how much people believe in its future adoption and the fact that there will never be more than the fixed supply of XRP, 100 billion minus whatever is burned, right? Plus, XRP's superpower is, that transactional cost kind of fractions of a penny, right? Now, if XRP shot to, let's say, $10 or $100, well, would those fees still be fractions of a penny? And if not, well, that could discourage the very banks and users, in it's kind of meant to attract. Now, at this point, I was leaning forward in my chair, popcorn in hand. Figuratively speaking, I don't actually drink coffee, and I don't need caffeine for this one. The drama was enough. Now, the debate was highlighting a pretty classic crypto conundrum: utility versus speculation, network effect versus tokenomics, and it was about to get even spicier. Enter another voice, a well-known figure in the XRP community who goes by, and I'm going to butcher the name, but I'm going to apologize anyway in advance, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋, an alias referencing to the famous psychologist Kahneman, murdering it, apologize massively. Pronouncing names is not my strongest point. But anyway, told the crypto people, I guess in nerdy, they kind of told you crypto folks are pretty nerdy, right? But in the best possible way. Anyway, let's get to the story here, because he jumped in with at least to defend XRP's honor, right? And his take is this, that Dave's worry about XRP getting too expensive to use was actually quite overblown. And if you only take a look at the on-chain data, you can see why. Now, Raf, we'll call him Raf just because it's easier for me to pronounce, did point out that the amount of XRP burned per transaction is minuscule, so small that even if XRP's price went to the moon, the actual fee in dollar terms would still be negligible, right? It's like if you burn 0.00001 XRP per transaction, whether XRP is going to be 50 cents or $50, the cost to use the network is still incredibly tiny. And by the way, those fee parameters can be adjusted by the network if they ever needed it to be. In fact, Raf argued that the higher the price for XRP could actually make the whole network more efficient for moving value. Why? Because if one XRP is worth a lot more, well, you can settle larger transactions with the same 0.00001 XRP fee, making the system even more cost-effective for the bigger players. Now, it's kind of counterintuitive, but it does actually make a lot of sense, right? A higher value token means you need less of it to actually represent the same amount of money, so that you can actually burn a smaller slice and get the same effect. And that perspective was the twist. The very scenario that Dave was worried about, XRP getting pricey, might actually be a feature and not a bug for its use case as a kind of settlement asset. And as Raf reminded everyone else, transaction fees on the XRP ledger are not set in stone. They've been kind of, minimal for a decade and can remain minimal even if XRP's price grows. So XRP's affordability isn't even in danger just because the token appreciates in value. The network will adapt. In short, XRP could go to $10 or $100 or even higher and still cost fractions of a penny to send. The protocol would make sure of it. Now, zooming out for a second here, what did I make of all of this, right? We had one expert, saying you can't compare these two directly. You had another saying that Link's tokenomics give it a strong case to rise. And you had community OGs saying that XRP's high price won't kill its utility. Now, honestly, they all had their points. It felt less like an argument and more like a whole bunch of blind men describing an elephant from just different sides, right? Each highlighting a different truth about XRP and Chainlink. Now, here is where my personal perspective comes in. Now, as I mentioned, I hold both XRP and Chainlink, and I firmly believe that there's room for both in the crypto space. Now, this debate actually kind of reinforced that belief, right? It's kind of like watching two of your favorite players in different sports excel, right? Do I really have to pick one over the other? XRP and Chainlink, they serve different purposes within the industry. And in a way, they actually complement rather than actually directly compete. Now, XRP is out there trying to streamline and dominate cross-border value transfers and maybe even act as a bridge currency for the banks. Chainlink is quietly, or not so quietly anymore, becoming the backbone of connecting blockchains to real-world data and legacy systems, just like Swift. Both are critical in their own realms. Now, I started to realize something important here. Sometimes the crypto community falls into the trap of thinking in terms of versus, right? This coin versus that coin. Who will win? But the more that I actually learn, the more that I see it as at least I see, it as a crypto is an ecosystem. It's not Highlander, there can only be one. It's more like an orchestra, right? You need different instruments, right? Could the violins say the flutes are useless because violins have more strings? Well, that would be silly, right? The symphony needs both of them. Similarly, right, the financial world might actually very well need what XRP offers and what Chainlink offers, working in tandem. And so, by this point in my late night deep dive, my mind was buzzing. Again, there's no caffeine needed here. Now, I felt simultaneously relieved and excited, right? I was relieved because I didn't actually, uncover some fatal flaw in either of these projects. In fact, I actually gained more confidence in why each exists. And I'm excited because this realization, it opened my eyes to the bigger picture here. Crypto isn't a zero-sum game. Well, at least not from a technological standpoint. From an investment standpoint, it absolutely is. Anyway, multiple projects can thrive by solving rather different problems, right? And as an investor, that is a beautiful thing. Now, before I move on, here's a quick sidebar. If you're into exploring all of the nuances of different crypto projects just like this, then consider subscribing to the channel and definitely hop into our Discord server. The link is in the description, right? We do the deep dives, we share the news, and yes, we debate respectively just like this. It's way more fun to learn and to make money together as a community. Trust me on that one. Now, do you remember that I mentioned stumbling onto something called Unity nodes during this whole research adventure? Well, let's talk about that, because it's a perfect example of how vast and varied the crypto world actually is. Now, Unity nodes kind of caught me off guard a little bit, right? Now, I hadn't heard much about them over the last kind of several months, and suddenly a few people in the community and on Twitter were actually talking it up. So I decided to check it out, and wow, I went down yet another rabbit hole on this one. I know, so many rabbit holes, but this is why I kind of love crypto. So in a nutshell, Unity is a project aiming to decentralized telecommunications, and yes, you heard that right. They're basically blending crypto with cell phone networks. The idea is both simple and, well, rather super ambitious. Let regular people, like you and I, run nodes, basically small servers, via smartphone applications that actually help verify and support mobile networks. And in return, you actually earn crypto rewards for contributing. Now, it's kind of like turning your phone into a part of a cell tower network and getting paid for it. It's pretty cool, right? Now, here is how I understand it. The global telecoms market is worth about $2 trillion a year. It's pretty huge. But ensuring that all of those calls and data connections are actually reliable, at least, is traditionally done by big telecom companies with a lot of expensive infrastructure. Now, Unity flips that model on its head by using a decentralized network of everyday smartphones to monitor and verify the integrity of telecom networks. It's proof of work, but not by mining some pointless math puzzle. Instead, the work is checking your local network for issues, dropped calls, signal strength, etc. Right now, each time that you run the Unity app and it performs some of these verification tasks, you're doing useful work that actually helps carriers maintain their services. And all that work is logged on-chain for transparency. As a reward, the Unity license operators, that's what they call people running the app on the phone, earn cryptocurrencies withdrawable in various different coins. Right? Essentially, carriers pay fees for these network integrity services, and those fees get shared with the people running the Unity nodes and Unity licenses. Now, the token economics are designed so that 75% of the service fees go to the people actually running the licenses. That's the person running the app on the phone, right? Just like I would have a phone here. And the other portion flows back to the actual node operator, the one who bought the node and distributed the 200 licenses to its users. Now, the remaining 25%, of course, of the fees is then used to support other parts of the ecosystem, like the other nodes and the validators. And the key thing here is the real world utility, right? Revenue from actual telecom services is getting funneled into crypto rewards. That's a sustainable model if it works. Now, crypto isn't coming out of thin air here. It's actually coming from a legit business service. Now, here's full disclosure. I was so intrigued by this, I actually went ahead and purchased a Unity node NFT myself. Now, each node, it comes with an NFT, right, with 200 licenses that I can then distribute. Now, it wasn't cheap. It was about $5,000 for the node, but it includes a whole bunch of tokens that are staked for you and those 200 licenses to either use yourself or to lease out to others. Now, this is not me telling you to go ahead and buy one, right? I repeat, this is not financial advice or even some tech advice, right? I just have this kind of high risk tolerance for experimental stuff and a curious mind. Anyway, I plan to run some tests with my Unity node once their network goes live and to see how it performs in the real world. I'm going to set something up right here on the desk and I'll talk about that in the coming videos. I'm definitely going to share all of those results with you all in future videos or in a Discord server. So if you're not in the Discord, you can check it out with that link that's in the description. In fact, this is probably a perfect time for a quick but mandatory disclaimer because we are talking about investments and I just admitted to aping into something pretty experimental. But this might just shock you, right? I am not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your own responsibility and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. So there you go, it had to be done. Now you know that I care about all of you guys, staying safe and staying informed. All right, let's get back to these Unity nodes for just a second here, because why am I bringing all of this up in a video about XRP and Chainlink? Well, it's because it underscores the whole point that I arrived at. Different crypto projects serve different niches, and that is okay. Unity is tackling a completely different industry, the telecom industry, using blockchain technology and incentive models. Right? It's not trying to compete with XRP for cross-border payments or Chainlink's Oracle services. It's adding a whole new pillar to the crypto ecosystem, decentralized infrastructure for mobile networks. And people are excited about it precisely because it's not the same old crypto narrative. It's not another DeFi token or another NFT profile picture. It's something that could tangibly improve a real-world service, your phone connectivity, while rewarding participants. Now, to me, Unity nodes represents the continued maturity of the crypto space. Right? We're moving beyond just currency and DeFi into real utility for the everyday life. I also bring it up to show that being bullish on XRP doesn't mean that I can't be bullish on Chainlink or interested in Unity. Right? They are not mutually exclusive, right? If anything, projects like these actually all thrive together because they're solving different problems. XRP for moving money, Chainlink for connecting data and systems, Unity for decentralized mobile networks. You notice a bit of a theme. All are about connecting and moving something of value, money, information, connectivity in a decentralized way, right? They're like, I guess they're all like siblings, but in a much broader blockchain family. So if Unity nodes piques your interest, then it's definitely worth checking out the link that's in the description for their official site and to do your own research. It's new and it's somewhat experimental, so approach it with curiosity and caution. Now, I just wanted to share that I'm personally testing it out because who knows, maybe a year from now we'll all be talking about Unity in the same breath as some of these kind of bigger projects if it really does take off. Or maybe not. Either way, I'm going to learn something new and I'll share that journey with all of you guys. Now, let's zoom back out and connect all of the dots, right? We started with a question. Why is XRP's value so much higher than Chainlink's? The journey through the debate taught us that the question itself might actually be flawed. It's like asking, why is a pickup truck more expensive than a boat, right? You realize, well, they actually do something rather different for, well, guess what? Different people. Now, XRP's higher market cap doesn't necessarily mean it is better or more important, just like Chainlink's lower market cap doesn't mean that it's lagging or it's falling. It comes down to purpose and scope. Now, XRP is aiming to be a global settlements asset, potentially used by banks, fintechs, even individuals worldwide. It's shooting for the moon in terms of ambition, becoming part of the plumbing of global finance. Chainlink, on the other hand, is quietly indispensable tool that makes other blockchains applications actually even possible. Without reliable oracles, a lot of the smart contracts would just be blind. So it's more behind the scenes, but as Swift's involvement shows, it's incredibly vital. Now, you can't directly compare being the world's digital cash to being the bridge between blockchains and real data, right? And of course, declare one inherently more valuable than the other, right? We need both roles filled for crypto to conquer the world, right? In fact, I would argue that XRP and Chainlink actually benefit each other indirectly. Right? The more banks and institutions that warm up to crypto because of XRP's efficiency, well, the more they might explore smart contracts and the Oracle services, hello Chainlink. And the more that Chainlink integrates into crypto without, well, at least with existing banking systems, the easier that it becomes for something like XRP to find a place in those systems later on. So it's a symbolic dynamic, right? And this realization is my kind of eureka moment. By appreciating their differences, I became even more confident in why I hold both of them, right? I stopped worrying about one flipping the other or some kind of rivalry narrative because it's just absolute BS. Instead, I'm watching how each can excel in its own field. It's like having both Apple and Microsoft stock, right? Different products, different markets, both can do well. Or if you're into sports, it's kind of like cheering for your national soccer team and your local basketball team, right? They're not going to go head to head anytime soon, but you're happy when each wins in their own arena. So here is where my personal adventure leaves us then. I started out chasing a rumor, or let's say a concern, that one of my favorite projects, Chainlink, might be undervalued, or that another XRP might be overvalued. And after digging through all of the debate and even exploring projects in entirely different sectors like the Unity nodes, I came out with the other side, I guess, with a much clearer mindset. It's not a competition. It's a crypto ecosystem. XRP is doing its thing, Chainlink is doing its thing, and both are pushing the industry forward in different ways. Rather than asking which one will win, the better question is, how is each winning in its own game? XRP's success doesn't diminish Chainlink's and vice versa. If anything, their successes build on each other, bringing more legitimacy, more use cases to the blockchain world as a whole. And as investors or enthusiasts, we don't have to actually pick tribes here like it's some kind of sports rivalry, right? You can be like me, excited about multiple different projects, even outside of the big names. You can keep an open mind, you can keep learning, and you can focus on the real world impacts. Because the projects that solve real problems, whether it's speeding up payments, connecting the data, or decentralized mobile networks, are the ones that will stick around and change the world in the future. And one last thing, speaking of investing in these ecosystems, if you do trade assets like XRP, Link, or other tokens, you're going to need a reliable exchange. Now, I personally use a couple of them. Blowfin is one that I've been trying out. It's a pretty slick crypto exchange, especially for futures trading. And if you use my Blowfin affiliate link that's in the description, it does directly support the channel here at no extra cost to you. Another one that I use is BitGet, which is a solid track record and lots of tokens listed. Again, my BitGet affiliate link is down below if you want to check it out. Now, affiliate links, that means that if you do sign up and trade through them, then I actually do get small commissions, which actually helps me kind of spend more late nights researching the curiosities just like this, instead of, I don't know, doing something more sane like sleeping. So if you do use them, thank you in advance if you do, and that's transparency, right? They're a win-win, right? You might get a small trading fee discount or a bonus, right? And I get to keep the lights on here. All right, I think it's probably time to wrap this one up then, because this whole journey was a bit of a reminder that the crypto space is much bigger than any one coin, right? And the next time that you see people arguing on X about XRP versus Chainlink, or insert any coin versus another coin, right? Remember that behind the tickers are entirely different visions and technologies. It's not Highlander, right? We don't just need one, right? The real world, there's need for many different winners. Now, I'm personally bullish on both XRP and Chainlink, and after this deep dive, I'm even more convinced than ever that they're each carving out their own crucial niches. And who knows, maybe Unity nodes will join those ranks too in its own little lane. In the end, the question, why is XRP 10 times the value of Chainlink, actually turned out to be the wrong question altogether. The right question is, what does each project bring to the table? And when you ask that, you realize that value isn't just in a number on CoinMarketCap. It's in what these networks do and how they make our world better or even more efficient. And by that measure, both XRP and Chainlink are invaluable in their own ways. So if you've enjoyed joining me on this little adventure, don't forget to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button for more personal deep dives like this one, and of course the crypto stories. Until next time though, stay curious, stay crypto savvy, and I'll see you in the next one.